Which market are you writing for? I'm Karen Beery with Right Now Editing, where we turn good manuscripts into great books.
And I'm Pegg Thomas, multi award winning author and editor, and we are two editors for 5 minutes.
And this week, our 5 minutes, which starts now, we're going to talk about the two different markets that you can be writing for. One is the Christian or inspirational market, and the other is the general market. Peg, why is it important to understand which market you're writing for?
Because readers have expectations, especially in the Christian market. And they're a broad range of expectations because there are some people who within the Christian market expect there to be a salvation message in every book. And if there's not a salvation message in that book, then by golly, it's not Christian. And there are others who just need a faith element. So that is a broad spectrum between those two things. On the contrary side is the general market, where most traditional publishers want absolutely no mention of faith at all whatsoever, any kind. So very drastic differences. But there are smaller houses in the general market who will allow a faith element as long as it's not a full salvation message.
And the reason it's important to understand which market you're writing for is because you have to market your book. And if you tell people that you're writing, contemporary romance, which is true, but you have characters that are praying and talking about going to church and talking about God, that's really Christian fiction because within the general market, you're not going to get any of that. There may be characters that are pastors or missionaries that are, doing some work. And if it fits the character, it's generally accepted. But if you're going to call yourself just a romance author, or if it's just romantic suspense, you'd want to keep that faith element out. On the flip side, if you're going to call your book Christian or inspirational, now there is a bit of a stretch because there are a lot of publishers now that are accepting manuscripts that don't have an overtly Christian message, as long as the story doesn't break biblical principles. But if you call it Christian and you have characters that are embracing lifestyles that contradict scripture, uh, publishers and agents aren't going to accept it. And if you're self publishing, your readers are really not going to like it because they expect to see some type of change in characterization, um, or that faith element, at least, like I said, at the very least, it can't break biblical principles. So, Peg, what are some things that people should avoid including if they want to write for the Christian or inspirational market?
Well, you pretty much nailed it with anything that goes against scripture, unless it is something that a character is overcoming. And again, there you get into the whole salvation message type of book where you see a character struggling with a worldly issue that they're overcoming. Then that's fine. But that's called character arc. By the end of the book, we're good. But if you get to the end of the book and the character says, "Nope, like my old life, stay in there," you're really going to disappoint your Christian audience. So if you use some of those, be sure that by the end of the book, they've come to a resolution about that in what we would call, the Christian theme. Um, Secular audiences don't need that. They don't care if we follow through with any changes or not in that same way. They definitely still want a character arc. They still want to see something, happening and maturing and evolving within the character, but they don't care if it follows biblical and scriptural lines. But the Christian audience does. So you need to be able to deliver that. And Karin, what is your take on the clean fiction that's growing by leaps and bounds? Everywhere I see it on Instagram, it's more they're calling them closed door romance or sweet romance or clean romance or wholesome. All those words are going out there. What is your take on that, and where does that fit in?
Though, again, depending on who you want to reach, when you're looking at the closed door, people, characters can be having sex. We don't want to see it. There's nothing described in it. But regardless of whether you're writing sweet or clean, or if you're writing something that's got um, more descriptive violence or language, anything like that, for the general market, I like to kind of refer to, if you if you remember the TV show Touched by an Angel. So I think it was back in the 90s, there was a show where there were three angels that would come. Oop, we're out of time, but let me finish this thought. These three angels would come and they would help people here on Earth. And when they pitched this concept to the networks, they were told, you can talk about God because God is a general entity. Many people worship God. They would not let them talk about Jesus because Jesus is only specific to Christians. So even if you do want to have some sort of faith in there, you can talk about a God type figure, but once you start talking about a specific faith's central entity, deity, that's when they're going to start to draw the lines. But that's all the time we have for today. Maybe sometime we'll talk more about this. But until next week, I'm Karin Beery.
And I'm Peg Thomas, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.